Only the Board B quality mark ensures you know where your food comes from, because it's independently checked at every stage.
Bunratty Castle is one of the best known castles in Ireland, and today I'm getting the chance to go behind the scenes of one of the castle's famous banquets. But first, a little history.
The original castle would have dated back to about 1250. And the existing castle that we see here today dates back to about 1425. So it is an original medieval castle. It would have had a variety of different uses and different families that lived in it over the years. The very last family moved out around about 1801. That was the Stoddard family. And really since then, the castle hasn't been occupied by a family as such. Around about 1954, Lord Gort bought the castle and in conjunction with the Office of Public Works and Bord Fáilte undertook to revamp the castle and to refurbish it and bring it back to the state that it's in today. And it reopened in May 1960, and really the rest is history.
As well as the castle, you have the folk park here. Tell me a little bit about that.
The folk park represents life about 150, 170 years ago in Ireland. There was an old cottage at Shannon Airport. They were extending the runway, and of course the cottage had to be moved somewhere. It was decided at the time to bring it to Bunratty and to try to create life at a different era, effectively around about the time that the famine people would have emigrated. That became so popular that there was a demand for more of that, and what happened was the growth of the folk park round the foot of the castle then emerged. So we've got a lot of different buildings today. We've actually 32 acres of folk park today now, all situated around the castle, and the whole idea is to bring you back in time.
Now what I'm interested in is of course food, and in this series I'm going around the country visiting different chefs who cater for larger volume numbers of people. I'm particularly interested here in Bunratty about the banquet. Tell me a little bit about that, John.
The banquets would have started in 1963. Every single night of the year, we have two banquets, one sitting at 5:30 and one sitting at 8:30. The banquet takes about 148 people.
Well, I know Margaret is the head chef here and who runs the banquet, so I'm looking forward to meeting her.
Well, you're very welcome to come and join us, Neven.
This is a first for me. I've never cooked in a medieval castle before. Hello, Margaret. How are you?
Good morning, Neven.
Thank you for letting me into your kitchen. It's a bit of a tight squeeze.
It is.
Wow.
Yeah, we have to adapt now. It's a 13th century castle, so for us, everything has to be around the kitchen has to be built within the castle.
Amazing. Look, good job. I'm not tall.
I know, you can't really
too.
knock down any walls or anything. I know.
No, it's fascinating what you can do in a small space. It's absolutely fantastic. So what are you going to do this morning?
Okay, what we're going to do is the banquet consists of a 4-course meal. So we have a curried soup for starter. And then we have the ribs, which are marinated. Our chicken dish, which is like the wing on, very medieval look to it. And then we have like a little forest-style mousse as well. But I'm just going to show you the ribs and the chicken today. So the ribs is the second course and the chicken is the main course.
Excellent. So these are the ribs here?
Yeah, all of our meat that we buy is all quality assured. Keep it local and keep it Irish. So we have the ribs. These are bought in Cork. We soak them overnight to ensure that we take away all the excess salt. And then we boil them for maybe 2 to 2.5 hours.
They're really tender.
Yeah, they need to be near enough falling off the bone.
Oh, wow.
And then we marinate. Now, we make our own marinade. We use a very tomato base, really.
Is this it here? Is this your marinade?
It is.
Look how thick and silky that is.
This would be cooking for hours upon hours. These are the ribs that have been cooked for between 2 and 2.5 hours. I pop the marinade onto them. We brush it over.
Lovely.
We would be quite generous now in what we put on them.
So the marinade looks really beautiful. Tell me what you've in it. Is it the secret recipe?
It's a bit like a chutney style based marinade, and there's specific ingredients in it. We have our tomatoes, we have our sugar, we have the honey, and of course the whiskey. The ribs would be the main talking point. The customer leaves the banquet. It was a wonderful experience. The ribs were excellent.
Wow, so this is the signature dish.
It is, yeah. And what we're going to do, that's those done, and we leave them now for a while until we're ready then to pop them into the oven.
Okay, well I'll put them out of the way.
Perfect, and now we'll go on to the chicken. Now.
So this is the main course.
This is the main course. We marinate it, and then we pan fry it, and then we serve it on a platter with the vegetables, and then it's served outside with like big wooden style spoons.
And the wing bone on.
The wing bone is on. For us, it's the you grab it by the bone. Now, some people do, some people don't. We actually serve just a knife with it. It's called the dagger.
So what do you put into the marinade? Do you want to make that up for me?
Yep, we can.
I'll get a dish.
So, thank you very much.
Okay, this one here.
Perfect.
Okay.
So what we do is we use some olive oil. So we'll just pop some in here. So this marinade would be for about 4 or 5 chickens, but we use a little bit of cayenne and paprika, and it's more or less just to give that just a little bit bold flavour from it. And then we pop in some. Now these are herbs, the hard herbs. That's the rosemary and the thyme. But here in Bunratty, they grow all of their own herbs.
Fabulous, edible flowers, everything.
Everything,
Wow.
And how local can you get? So what we do is we mix this, and then we just add some rock salt.
Tiny bit of salt.
Just a little bit of rock salt.
Looks
and
lovely, colourful with the cake.
It is.
Can I
It's
help you
perfect
now
for
with
flavour.
the
You
chicken?
can just pop them in.
Does it matter skin side down? Or
Yes,
yeah,
please.
Okay.
So we cover and we leave overnight, and then they'll be ready then for the next day then for
Be
the
nice and
banquet.
flavoursome.
Perfect.
So move them out of the way.
Lovely.
These are your other ones here.
Now
Beautiful,
these
wow.
are the ones that have been marinated overnight. We'll cook about 3. Obviously there's a little bit of oil in here, but I'm
Yes.
just going to pop a little bit of the rapeseed oil in there.
That's a lemon one.
It is, yeah, that's it just again. It adds flavour. And we'll just pop in 3 at the minute. And you can
3.
smell the fresh herbs.
Yeah.
They're ready, so we'll pop them over. You can see there, they're nice caramelised brown. Turn the gas down. I'm just going to wash my hands, and then we'll take the chickens out and we'll assemble. Okay.
You have them already done here.
We do, so
Yeah.
we'll take our cloth and we'll just...
Okay.
open
Is this what you served? Do you want me to get this for you here?
Yeah, that's our service tray. Now, what we have is we have our chickens here.
Lovely.
So we'll just pop them there.
They look delicious.
Okay. So what we do is we serve the bone sitting up, and we just line the chickens along like that.
And why is that? Just for presentation?
It is. Do you want to continue on doing
Yeah, I'll do
this?
that.
And
Yeah.
I will
on the tray,
bring
yeah.
out the vegetables.
Perfect.
What we have here are the vegetables, okay? So we use broccoli and root vegetables. So you've got your turnip and your carrot. Again, it's very old worldly, and again, keeping in theme with the medieval theme. So we mix with some butter, some seasoning, and then we arrange them around the chicken. So can you just hand me there the butter,
here.
and I'll just grab the
And will I drizzle this all over for you?
Do, please.
Yeah. Some good Irish butter, hard to beat.
It is. And what we'll do is, if you want to sprinkle there some of the rock salt,
Yeah.
just mix it. Finish off there with some fresh flat leaf parsley,
Here. Perfect.
which is
Thanks, that's
grown
it.
here on site.
Of course. Everything local.
Everything local. And then we just pop it in
Yeah.
and arrange it. It's all about freshness
Yeah.
and just tasting really, really good.
Well, I'm looking forward to tasting it later on in the banquet.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Margaret, for having me in your kitchen.
Thank you very much.
One of my first summer jobs was working as a chef in the Great Northern in Bundoran, about maybe half an hour from Black Lion. And that's where I learned, first of all, to make an omelette. Very, very simple omelette I'm going to show you now with some smoked haddock, a little bit of cheese and tomato. And it's really, really tasty, lovely for a brunch or breakfast. First thing I need to do is to poach the smoked haddock. And this is natural smoked haddock. So the skin is off it and it's pin boned, very, very important. Have your milk, bring it to the boil, that's what we call scalding, and just place your smoked haddock in there. Because it's natural smoked, there's actually no dye in it. Gently bring it to the boil, a little pinch of salt, and a touch of black pepper. Now, only takes a minute or two. It doesn't take long to cook this at all. While that is on poaching, and you can have this done ahead, is I'm just going to grate some Parmesan cheese and some Gruyere cheese. So we're going to mix this in with the fish when it's poached. So I'm using the coarse side of the grater. There's something about smoked haddock and eggs, whether it's a poached egg on top with a little bit of spinach and mashed potato, it's just, for me, it's delicious. So that's my Parmesan cheese, and then we're going to do the Gruyere cheese. I'm just going to break this here. Just watch your fingers when you're doing this. So if you go to your local fishmonger, they'll have some natural smoked haddock. You're enriching the omelette with the haddock and also with the cheese. Plenty of calcium in this dish. Now, that should be enough. That's the cheese done. Just mix it together. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check on the fish. So you want to gently poach it. You can do this in the oven, but I think when you're doing it on the top heat like this, you won't forget about it. Now with the milk that you've poached this in, fabulous in the chowder, so you're wasting nothing. Onto some kitchen paper. Just while I'm waiting for that to slightly cool, I'm going to slice the tomatoes, because the tomatoes are going to go on top of the fish. Nice and thin, and these are some vine tomatoes I'm using. So with the fish into the bowl, I'm using 2 forks, flake it away. No bones, no skin, lovely in fish cakes too. Now half the cheese goes in here. And then we just mix this through. Because the fish is warm, it'll soften the cheese and begin to melt it. And then into this, I'm just going to chop a couple of chives. Now you can use any herbs. A little bit of tarragon would work really well in this. Parsley, some dill, fennel, they're all herbs that work really well with fish. I'm going to chop extra because I want to sprinkle some over just for garnish after it comes from the grill. And then this goes in. So keep some back. And lovely colour. Okay, so that's the smoked haddock and the cheese ready. I'm going to let that sit there. Milk is switched off. Now we're going to start the omelette. Heat the pan. So just before I put the eggs in, I'm just going to reduce some cream. Now this enriches it, so it does. So a couple of tablespoons of cream. I'm going to let that reduce. And I'm going to drizzle that over the haddock. Sometimes this can be made with a bechamel, which is a white sauce, but I'm using some reduced cream. A little bit of butter in the pan. So just smear that around the pan. While that's warming up, I'm going to crack 3 quality assured eggs just into the bowl. So you work out about 3 eggs per person. Now you can do this in a large pan, but I'm just making an individual one. Some sea salt and some black pepper. Just whisk it. As soon as this hits the pan, it begins to cook. That's why you have your pan preheated. Just using another small whisk, you just whisk the cream and just let that reduce. So the secret into making an omelette is all about speed. Hot pan under the grill, so it cooks really, really fast. If you overcook it, it's rubbery and tough and it's not very nice to eat. So just lighten your eggs and then just bring the bowl over and immediately you hear that. That's sizzle, so it begins to cook. Just check on your cream, it's reducing nicely. Looks good to me, we can switch that off. And then just with this here, just carefully, non-stick pans are brilliant. Absolutely brilliant for making an omelette. So see the way I'm just pulling it back and letting the egg run in there. So all I want to do is just start to cook the base of the actual omelette. And in a way I'm using a spatula so I'm kind of protecting the non-stick surface. Now I'm going to give that another wee minute. And then I'm going to start to bring over the haddock, which we poached, and the cheese. And then the extra cheese, which goes on top. And then the tomato. So I'll just put it onto a plate there. You get your haddock and just kind of sprinkle it over the top. So you could use smoked salmon, smoked mackerel, lots of different alternatives. A little bit of the cheese, switch off the pan. So keep some of the cheese back. And then we have our tomatoes. So I'm just going to put 4 tomatoes. So it looks really, really colourful. So that's our 4 tomatoes, and then just a drizzle of the cream. This will keep it really nice and moist. So just work from the centre and just over the fish. And then our cheese. So this is the Parmesan and the Gruyere cheese. Sprinkle that all over. And this is going to go under the grill, which is preheated. Just before I do that, a little bit of black pepper. And it's going to take about 2 minutes. The grill is preheated at 200, so it's a nice hot grill. Now, I'm going to give that 2 minutes. How good does that look? Absolutely fab. So what happens when you put it under the grill? It puffs up like a soufflé effect. It's so good and light. But you don't have to put it under the grill, but I find it's a lighter texture to eat, and that's why we call it a soufflé omelette. With this, I'm just going to finish it with some chives, just over the top. And then just on the side, I have some little baby potatoes, which we just steamed, tossed a little bit of butter, some spinach, a little bit of salad dressing. And that's a very simple brunch dish that you can have Serve it in the pan, but be careful. Leave the tea towel so no one touches it. And that's my soufflé omelette with smoked haddock and tomato.
Look for the Board Be Quality mark, because it looks after you. Look for the Board Be Quality mark, because it looks after you.
Marinating is such a great way to get flavour into your meats. Or actually, fish too works really, really well. You saw earlier on, Margaret made a delicious marinade for chicken. I'm going to show you one for a beautiful Irish lamb. It's very, very simple. First thing we do is crush some garlic. Peel a couple of cloves of garlic, put 2 cloves of garlic into this. I'm going to use some lemon rapeseed oil, which is beautiful with the lamb. Good drizzle of this. Smoked paprika works really, really well. If you make a tomato sauce or a tomato soup, it is delicious. I'm gonna put a little bit of honey. This is an Irish honey from Irish Bee Sensation. Love this product. We use it a lot in the restaurant. A little drizzle of that. Grate the rind of 1 lemon. Sit the grater on. So I think that's enough. It's gonna be really fresh, fragrant, and with the beautiful lamb, it works so well. A little bit of rosemary, a little bit of fresh thyme. Chop this, and then the herbs go into the dish. So that's my herbs in there. Just get a spoon and then just stir it all through. That's it there. Nice little bit of texture from the garlic and also from the rosemary in that. So I'm going to use lamb cutlets for this. And we're very lucky in Ireland, we have the best lamb, in my opinion, in the world, because it's grass-fed. So just get your little cutlets and sit them in the marinade. So flip these over and leave them for about half an hour to an hour if you want to. But what I've done with my lamb is marinated them in the fridge overnight, covered the dish in cling film so it doesn't smell anything from the garlic, but the flavour will be so different. We're going to cook these up very, very simple. Salt, Ackle sea salt, and you just season the meat before it goes onto the pan. Some black pepper. There's no need for the oil to go on to the pan. There's enough oil in that, and the most important thing when you're doing this is to bring them to room temperature. Don't cook them straight from the fridge. I'm going to cook up 4 of these. Heat up the griddle pan, have it nice and hot. Wow, smell of that. Beautiful. Nice sizzle. Turn it down a little bit. So what I'm going to do next, on the griddle pan, some lovely courgettes. And we're just going to slice them at an angle. And we're going to grill these. But I'm also just going to very quickly toss them in the marinade. Now, you can freeze this marinade, but remember you've had raw meat in it. It'll keep for a day or 2 in your fridge. Onto the pan, flip it over, and then a little bit of salt. Now, you can use any seasonal veg for this. A little bit of salt, just on the courgette. So I'm just going to check in the lamb. They're cooking up lovely. I'm going to turn them over. They're slightly caramelized, and that's because of the honey in it. And then just move the courgettes. They won't be ready for turning yet. So with the lamb and the courgettes, I'm going to show you a beautiful salad. It's puy lentils, which are already cooked, some goat's cheese, and some sun-dried tomatoes. So these are the lentils here. We cook them in the restaurant, or you can buy cans of puy lentils, which is a beautiful lentil. Just rinse them off. We cook them in some vegetable stock. And when you get lentils, like, they can take up to an hour to cook. I'm just going to flip over the courgettes. They look gorgeous. Nice and golden brown. Exactly what I want. Okay, so this salad is really, really simple. First of all, we'll get our dressing. We're going to use some rapeseed oil. We are going to put in some semi-sun-dried tomatoes. Cut them into nice big chunks. So the semi-sun-dried are slightly softer than the regular sun-dried tomatoes, and they're delicious. They're usually marinated with olive oil and some herbs. That's our sun-dried tomatoes in there, the semi-sun-dried ones. We're going to use a little bit of mint, just from the garden here. Some lovely fresh mint, and of course that works really well with the puy lentils and the goat's cheese. Just gather it all up, and don't cut it too fine. Just nice and fine, little strips. There we go. Lots of nice colour there. So I'm going to put a little bit of shallot, which is the lovely sweet variety of onion. Really, really nice and thin now for this. Works really well, because the goat's cheese is quite rich. So just chop it or slice it nice and thin, and then this goes into the bowl. In goes the lentils. I'm just going to use half of these here. Lightly toss this. Now the last thing I'm going to put in is the goat's cheese, and it works really well in this. This salad is lovely with hot or cold chicken. With the lamb, it works delicious. This is a an Irish goat's cheese. And there's lots of brilliant Irish goat's cheese artisan people like Centola, Corleggy. This is going to go in at the last minute because I don't want it to go mushy. So this is a soft goat's cheese. You just lightly mix this through. Don't overmix it. So this will keep happily for a day in your fridge, covered in cling film or in an airtight container, and makes a lovely lunchtime treat. How good does that look? Texture, flavour, absolutely delicious and fresh. I'm going to just check on the lamb. So I'm just pressing the lamb. That feels lovely and soft, so it's nice and pink. Switch that off, and then we're good to serve up. So it's a very, very simple, quick dish. I think with the courgettes and the lentils is enough, but you can serve it, of course, with little potatoes, soft potato mash, whatever way you want to enjoy it at home. So get your courgettes, some of the lovely puy lentils, nice big pile of this, and then our lamb. I think 2 lamb cutlets is enough. So a little bit of fresh mint for freshness, and how good does that look? It's lovely, it's light. It's the grilled Irish lamb with the courgettes, the puy lentil, goat's cheese, and sun-dried tomato salad.
Good evening and welcome. You're making a way right up to the top of the stairs here.
Good evening, my lord. My lord, welcome.
Good evening, thank you.
To the top of the stairs.
Top, okay, thank you.
We salute thee, Bunratty. Let's fill each glass with wine. To toast all guests here tonight, we welcome you to dine. Let's dine.
This is delicious. This is such a fun and novel way of serving soup. No spoon. It's a spiced parsnip soup. Absolutely delicious.
My lord, it is at this stage of the evening that I am bid put your chef to the test. I shall proffer this bacon dish to some unsuspecting guest. And if it be not the best he has ever tasted, that chef has cooked his last meal in this castle. Unsuspecting guest. My lord!
Yum, yum, yum.
The Earl begs your opinion on this dish.
Superb.
Oh, my
Yeah,
lord
serve
approves!
it.
Aloes Royale for all!
I have to say, this isn't what I was expecting. It's my first time here, and what an absolute feast. The chicken is delicious. The way Margaret marinated had so much flavour, and I loved the pork ribs. I have to say, they were so delicious. I've had such a wonderful experience here, sharing food with people I've never met before. I'm going to finish my chicken with no pork and enjoy. Thank you so much.
Only the Board B Equality mark ensures you know where your food comes from, because it's independently checked at every stage.